Hey, everybody, welcome to Streaming Time. It's Friday, into the weekend. We'll stream you away for a couple of days here on Old Man Squad Fantasy Basketball. I'm Dan Bespris. Please, as always, take a moment to subscribe if you haven't before as we get rolling on our playoff streaming guide. These are the players you should be picking up and dropping due to schedule and the categories that you can attack with them today and then through Saturday as well. You can find me on Twitter at Dan Bespris, Old Man Squad on Blue Sky, Old Man Squad Fantasy over on Instagram if that's your jam. And again, that subscribe button's a big deal, but also if you could just drop that 5-star review, that'd be super cool. Also, let's begin. Friday, got a couple of teams to avoid, but not big ones. The Knicks and the Raptors are the only teams that I would kind of put on the board, but both of them have what you'd call sort of like semi-redeeming qualities in that the Knicks play tomorrow. So if you really wanted to dump your New York Knick, you might as well just do it on Sunday, unless it's somebody that's really, really, really bad. But that's not a team that had streamers anyway. Toronto is probably the more relevant of the droppables. They do play on Sunday, and then they go to a Sunday, Monday back-to-back. So there's something there. But they played most of their guys in Golden State last night on Thursday night. And I know it was because they had a couple of days off before the ball game, but RJ Barrett was the only regular, basically, that didn't play damn near full starters minutes. So there's no telling whether a streamer on Toronto is actually going to get to play much over the weekend. They are playing bad teams for about 5 games in a row. San Antonio, Washington, Brooklyn, Charlotte, Philadelphia. It's a tank off for the Raptors coming up. So one would think that that pivots more towards guys getting rest days, but we just sort of don't know. So if you have a Raptor that you were counting on, like, I don't know, Orlando Robinson, I don't think he even played in their last ball game, or AJ Lawson or Colin Castleton or whoever, this is probably a good time to just take their one game the rest of the week and try to turn it into 2 from somebody that you like a little bit more. Teams to target here on Friday. The best schedule is Washington. The Wizards start a 5-game and 7-day stretch tonight. They play today and tomorrow. They play Monday. They play Wednesday and Thursday next week. So if your schedule goes that far, they actually have another back-to-back on Wednesday and Thursday of the week after that. So this is actually a pretty damn heavy part of the schedule for the Wizards. They got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9 games over the next 14 days. That is a heavy, heavy run. So if your schedule goes that far, you could hold the Wizards for 2 damn weeks at this point and just kind of see how it goes. Hopefully you end up grabbing a guy that actually plays in all 9 of those games. Or in the very worst case scenario, they do have the only back-to-back today and tomorrow, which makes them the most enviable schedule from that standpoint as well. Other teams that have decent schedules today, not as good, however, as Washington, Boston, Denver, and New Orleans. They all play today, they all play Sunday, and they all play Monday. So it's 3 games out of 4 days. It's a good start to next week if your schedule extends that far, and you do still get 2 games out of them to finish off this week, too. Here are the players you should target on those 4 teams. Boston, I'm trying to do only guys that are like 65% rostered or less. It's a very arbitrary and dumb cutoff because some of these guys are more heavily rostered in public leagues. There are guys that have a lower number that are more heavily rostered in more competitive formats. Payton Pritchard for threes and points, he should have been rostered pretty much everywhere all season long, so I don't think he's going to pop up. Drew Holiday got dropped in a lot of spots, including a bunch of leagues that I'm in because he was bad for a long time. He's been cooking now for about a week, so he should definitely be on rosters. The only guy that leaves now as a possible streamer is Sam Hauser, and he's really only going to get you 3s. And the only reason, too, to sort of lump him on there is Jaylen Brown has already been ruled out for the game tonight. So you've got a little bit of an opening. Not a huge one, but an opening. But the Celtics also have Horford and Porzingis back, so they can opt to go big for one of the 2 games and then completely abandon on those guys. Here's the thing. This is a show that's impossible to do for Boston until we know who's in and who's out in their ball games. And we can't really because their back-to-back is Sunday, Monday, which is when they'll probably give somebody a rest day. So Sunday or Monday, do they alternate Porzingis and Horford? Do they both wait and play in the Sacramento game? Does Drew Holiday get any game off in there? I think he played in their last back-to-back, so I honestly don't know if these guys are going to get any time off. So that makes it really hard to suggest anybody on Boston and why I would probably shy away from them anyway. Before we get to Denver, no, you know what? Let's do Denver first. Screw that. Commercial can wait. Aaron Gordon is on this board. He got dropped in a bunch of spots because of injury, because of missing back-to-backs, all that good stuff. He's going crazy right now because Jokic and Jamal Murray have been out. Again, likely rostered in your league, but I was actually checking a couple of my leagues, and he wasn't. He was available in 2 out of the 10 cash leagues that I'm in, so that means that he might be available in one of yours. Probably, again, because of missed games. He got punted somewhere, and then maybe there were like 2 teams left, and nobody's picked him up yet. But Denver's got a good schedule here coming up. The other one is Peyton Watson. Kind of like, I mean, Russell Westbrook is obviously on this list as well, but he's over 70% rostered, so I assumed he was also on teams. Peyton Watson is the only guy on Denver that is not heavily rostered that might qualify as a streamer, and that's really only if you want blocks. New Orleans has the largest collection of possible streamers. I threw Kelly Olynyk on there, but I don't know if he's going to play in their upcoming back-to-back. My hope is that if you pick him up, you get 2 games out of Kelly to finish this week. And the reason, obviously, to like him is that he does a little bit of everything. Good percentages. He can score a little. He can board a little. He can assist a little. He can get steals. He can get blocks. He's just a fun player, I think, to roster in general. The more what you'd call traditional streamables on New Orleans, Yves Missi, if you want field goal percent, boards, and some blocks. Bruce Brown would give you rebounds and assists. Jose Alvarado is coming on here of late. He took the starting job with Trey Murphy out for the year. I don't know if that's going to last all season, but a really interesting source of assists and steals. Karlo Matkovic is kind of like the flyer because Zion got ruled out for this game on Friday. Presumably, Zion will miss 1 game of the back-to-back also, so you might have a little bit of a Matkovic opening if you're into that sort of thing. If he's coming off the bench, he can give you some rebounds. If he starts, he'll get you some points, some boards, and maybe a block. So that's kind of the Matkovic 2-step or whatever. And then Washington, the team with the best schedule, starting here with the back-to-back. 3 good options. Kyshawn George, who got dropped because he missed a game due to injury. So throw him on your roster. He should be played in all formats because he's just been really, really good lately. Tristan Vukcevic is, I think, an interesting schedule stream for boards and blocks. He might get you a few points as well. He's been taking a bunch of shots. I don't know if that's going to stick, but the rebounds and the blocks feel pretty repeatable because he's a gigantic dude on a tanking team, so nobody's going to take them seriously, and he'll be able to just sort of run around on skates for 25 minutes a game and get you some stuff. Bub Carrington would be the 3rd option on Washington. Jordan Poole is being phased down and then maybe phased out, and as he gets fully phased out, Bub is an interesting source of assists. He can also get you a few rebounds when the minutes tick back up into the 30s. And that's probably about as far as I would trust him. Now we'll take a commercial break, and then we'll get you to Saturday and what you should do over the weekend. Saturday, by the way, pretty easy one. Saturday's coming, but BetOnline is here first, and they're the world's most trusted betting platform and your number 1 source for betting on all things March Madness. Yes, the madness has begun. Teams are being eliminated as we speak. Whether you're a seasoned fan or a first-time bettor, if you've got a Cinderella story that you want to ride to the finish line, BetOnline is the ultimate game day companion. You can get money line odds on these teams. You can get ATS, they call that, against the spread odds on all of these teams. You can play something else. It doesn't have to be March Madness. They've got hockey. They've got baseball coming up here in the next couple of days. They got props. They got live in-game betting. They've got it if you want it. That's basically where we're at. BetOnline has you covered with odds, stats, and more on every game, every play, and every win. They also just fired up a $200,000 bracket contest. So if you didn't sign up this time around, make sure you don't screw around and miss the next one. And that's why BetOnline continues to be your number 1 sports betting source on the internet. BetOnline, the game starts here. Saturday, lots of teams with clunky schedules coming up, some clunkier than others. There are 2 teams that have equally clunky schedules, Dallas and Orlando, who you should have already abandoned ship on because they had 2-game weeks, so we shouldn't have to double back and talk about those anymore. Clippers have the next least terrible schedule on this board. They play 1 game over 4 days, but it's Sunday. So if you like your Clippers streamer, which honestly you might not at this point because Norman Powell's back, so their streamers are pretty bad these days. Clippers you could hold until Monday if you really wanted to. Save your move for something else. The next slightly worse schedule belongs to the Phoenix Suns. They have one game over 4 days, but that means they're off Saturday and Sunday. So no games left for Phoenix this week. They do play Monday to start next week. So if your season continues, you could get a good game out of a Sun to start next week. And the truly terrible schedules belong to the Memphis Grizzlies and the Minnesota Timberwolves. Memphis is off for 3 days starting on Saturday. Yucky poo, as they say. Grizzlies also only have a 3-game week next week, so not only off 3 days, but it's 1 over 5, 2 over 7, obviously backloaded there, 3 over 9. It's a bad stretch before they start to pick back up again on March 31st. So the Grizzlies, and there are some streamers on that team, guys like Scottie Pippen Jr., Luke Kennard, who the hell else would even qualify? Brandon Clark's been hurt a little bit lately, but he was one before that. If you've got those guys, tomorrow, Saturday, that's the day to get away. Run for the hills. And then Minnesota, a team that doesn't, frankly, have that many streamers, has the worst scheduling pocket that you can come across, which is 1 game over 6 days. They're going to love it because everybody on the team is going to get a ton of rest, but they don't play Saturday or Sunday. They do play Monday, and then they're off Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday. Of course, the corollary to that is who's your streamer on Minnesota? Obviously, you're going to hold Anthony Edwards through that mess. I don't know that Dante DiVincenzo needs to be held through that. He's not a streamer, but that schedule is so bad that even a good player, it could kind of break their team. Dante's been a top 100 guy basically since coming back from injury, which is fine. That's a guy you want to play most of the season. He's at 14 points, 3 threes, a steal, 4 boards, 4 assists. That's good. But, he's not going to do anything for a while here. And you can just look at the Minnesota Timberwolves. Look at how they're doing. You guys know I love Naz Reid. But with Rudy Gobert back, does it make sense? He's outside the top 115 over that stretch. I love the steal. I love the block and a half. He's missed a bunch of free throws, so the number's sort of artificially depressed a little bit. But I don't know if there's anybody on the Wolves outside of Anthony Edwards and maybe Jaden McDaniels that is a must-hold guy through 1 game over 6 days if you're in your playoffs. You know your team better than I do, but they certainly don't have any what you'd call traditional streamers that would be the obvious drop. Problematic part of all of this is while all of these teams have bad schedules, there's really only one team that has a very good schedule, and then there's one team that has a secondarily okay schedule, and those clubs are the Atlanta Hawks and the Sacramento Kings. I tried to be as ridiculously thorough as humanly possible in coming up with names to look at here because I know we're all going to be hunting from the same bucket on Saturday if you've got a move that you held through that point. Atlanta, Zachary Risochet, he's on a lot of wires. He's a points streamer who might get you 4.5 rebounds, so call it boards as well. Again, if you're doing this path, you're probably going for the back-to-back. Vit Krejci on the back-to-back, he's not going to score at all, 5-6 points, but you're hoping for 4 to 5 boards, 3 to 4 assists. Maybe he can get you a steal. Maybe he can get you a block. Maybe he can get you a 3. You're hoping for just a little bit of a bunch of things and categories that maybe you're trying to pile up on. We've talked about this on the show before. I'm trying to win a matchup in my thing where I'm currently in front in rebounds and assists and steals. And so, maybe Krejci's a guy that could buttress those, but, he's not going to score. I ain't catching up in points if I pick him up. Mo Gay, I threw on the list. I left George Niang off, but maybe he belonged on there as well. You could throw George Niang in if you really wanted to for a 3-pointer stream, but he really hasn't done anything lately. Mo Gay's actually been a tiny bit more reliable, if only for the categories he can provide, which is steals and blocks. He's just going to be out there hounding people on defense until he picks up 5 or 6 fouls. So you might only get 17 or 18 minutes, but pretty reliably, he's getting about 1.5 to 2 defensive stats combined per game. And you have to basically not need anything else. And we can't know today because it's Friday and the Hawks have been off for basically the entire week. They played on Tuesday. They've been off Wednesday, Thursday, and Friday. But Clint Capella and Karis LeVert have been out for a number of games. Capella, I think for 4 or 5 games. LeVert's been out for 3. with this long layoff and no real updates on their status, these are guys that could actually end up being really interesting pickups on Saturday. The problem is that you are not going to know until Saturday. So keep an eye on those. The longer you can wait in the day to make your call, the better, because you might get an update. Oh, Clint Capella's back from his personal leave or whatever. I badly needed, I don't know, field goal percent and like 6 rebounds and a block. Okay. Oh, Karis LeVert is back. That's a big one because he was putting up some big scoring numbers before he went down. Sacramento's names, should you feel so inclined. Trey Lyles is putting up pretty solid numbers in this second, like, Domantas Sabonis injury absence. Percentages, some points, some rebounds for Lyles is kind of what you're hunting there. Maybe gets you a three-pointer most games. Jake LaRavia, typically a boards and steals guy, and then Keon Ellis is if you're just hard blasting steals. But again, Sacramento's schedule is only better than like 10 other teams if your league continues into next week. Because this week, the Kings have just the one game on Saturday. At that point, you might as well just pick from any of the other teams that have one game the rest of the week. The reason the Kings schedule is good is that they start next week with a back-to-back Monday, Tuesday, and so you can get off to a rambunctious early week start without having to sit on somebody like an Orlando Magic who starts the week with a back-to-back. Dallas does as well, but they don't play Saturday or Sunday. So this is a way that you can get a game this week, but also start next week really fast. Still, like, look at the NBA. Dallas, I just mentioned, Orlando, Phoenix, Memphis. Those are the teams that don't play over the weekend. The other, I might be forgetting one, but about 25, maybe 26 if I counted right. The other 25 teams have one game, Saturday or Sunday. So you do not need to pick up Trey Lyles if you'd rather pick up literally any other free agent on the board other than those 4 or 5 teams I mentioned. That is your weekend streaming guide. I'm going to try to throw this up on the socials. I'm also going to put it in the show description. Please take a moment to subscribe to Old Man Squad Fantasy Basketball. I hope you guys have been enjoying this sort of hard push here down the stretch. I have been able to do a bunch of specialty shows at this point in the season, but I also, like, there's no point to do a buy low show. Everybody's past their trade deadline. And things like, a do not draft list for next year. I guess it's like a never draft again. We did one of those over the All-Star break, and maybe I'll throw one in the middle of next week or something like that. But there just isn't much other specialty stuff that makes sense to do right now. But there's still a lot of reasons to subscribe. The biggest of them being, not only do you get all the episodes that I drop, but you're going to get all of our DFS episodes, any specialist shows that come out, any baseball draft shows that come out from the great Joe Orico. And we've got all these other things coming up here. Big news still hanging in the wing. I can talk sometimes. I have a whole, like, every time I come up with an idea of a show to do, I write it down somewhere. And I scanned it yesterday and I was like, yeah, none of these make any sense right now. None. Like, who cares about trending names? We could do one of those. The Yahoo top 10 most added, but it's almost going to be all streamers these days. Injury show, super fun show, but it all gets rolled up into our day-to-day anyway. If I did Dynasty, that would be a fun one to do, but I don't. But someone might. Just saying. Thanks again, everybody, for watching. Hit that like button on the way out. Comments are open. Dan Vespers on Twitter if you want to hit me up there. But the fastest way to get me, and the way that I'm very reliable in getting back to you, is the YouTube comments. I don't know when the next show is going to drop. I'd like to get one out on Saturday at some point, but I have no idea how we're going to pull this one off. A lot of family stuff. Do my best. One way or another. I'll see you guys soon.